This is the first episode. We didn't come up with a name for our podcast project.
Crap.
The Weber Kettle Club Grill Fellas is what it's been in my head.
Grill Fellas podcast.
Right on.
Sweet grills.
Sweet grill. Oh man, we get to the Sweet Grills podcast.
Hey,
Yeah. Could be worse.
Let's talk about some sweet grills.
Sweet grills.
heck yeah. I'm all about it.
Oh man, right out of the chute.
Right out of the chute. I've been wanting to get together and do something bigger and bolder than just myself with the grill movement, and there's no other people on the earth that I would rather have in this than you two. You two have been there since the beginning for me, like before Weber collecting was a thing, before the Weber Kettle Club was a thing, back when I just wanted a red grill because that's what my dad had, you know, and Weber wasn't making them anymore. And I was like, what the fuck? I gotta like search Craigslist for used old grills. And just in that process, I found you two, my co-hosts here, Brian, Zavad44, and Craig, the Weber Kettle Club historian, the guy that knows everything there is to know about Weber history.
Literally everything.
Literally, like the one he's pieced it together. Like we started as a community project, but Craig took over the notebook and just went full geek.
Pretty much. I mean, the geek flag flies at every minute that I'm involved in this hobby.
I still, people will, I know I have a lot of grills and I have a lot of stuff, but people are always like, well, what about this? What about this? I'm like, I ask Craig. I don't know. I don't know all the large tab, small bowl, you know, I don't know.
Yeah, I stopped fielding questions.
Yeah.
But thank you both for being here. Craig, the historian. Brian, you're an integral part as well. You were the first person that I actually started talking to, like before Weber collecting was a thing. Let's talk about how we all came together, because there weren't any sites or locations dedicated to the Weber Kettle. None.
No.
There was nowhere to go. There was nowhere to congregate. We met on a barbecue site on a Weber Smoky Mountain dedicated website, the Virtual Bullet, right?
Yeah.
Yes, we did.
There was like a one forum section for charcoal grills, and the whole rest of the site was for smokers and smoking.
A weird I don't even know what the forum was. I mean, it wasn't collecting. It was kind of a cast off forum, and I think we just ended up there because there was no other place to go.
There was some questions there about finding colors and shit.
The biggest focus of that forum, I think, was and is, you know, the cooking aspect. Yeah. Of course, the Smoky Mountain cooker, and obviously, you know, it was fun, and we had our little corner in the Virtual Weber Bullet with the Weber Kettle, charcoal kettle forums. That's where I was gravitated to anyway.
And it's amazing how different it was back then, because I remember when I found Jeff K. Jeff K was the first time I went, oh my God, I need to have more than one Weber kettles, and they need to be different colors, because Jeff K had posted a picture on the Virtual Bullet.
That picture on his patio,
and it was like 5 grills.
Right, you see that picture, you're hooked. That is like
he had five different colored grills, and they weren't even that obscure by today's standard. Right, but there were 5 different colors, and I went, oh my God! Not only do I need a red one, but I need that blue one, and that yellow one, and the maroon one too.
I think he did have a sequoia.
Yeah,
you're right.
In that picture.
He had a chocolate sequoia.
Yeah, that picture has done more for grill collecting than anything else I can think of. Because you still stumble across that. I mean, you Google Weber kettles and stuff, that picture will pop up like crazy.
Yeah,
he's taken lots of sweet pictures of all of his grills, but especially that sequoia.
So, who was on that virtual site? Was Jeff on there first, or were you, Troy?
I think Jeff was. I think Jeff was on there, but I think he was on there as a barbecue guy. But I'm not sure, because I joined. I found it while trying to figure out why I couldn't find a red, why I couldn't buy a red, and I found somebody on that forum saying they don't make reds because of the the cadmium and it's toxic or whatever. And I was like, oh shit. And then I found that picture.
Yeah.
And started talking to people, started hunting things down. And I while looking for a red, I posted a want ad, and I said, I'm looking for an old Weber kettle, anything other than black. And the guy emailed me and said he has a blue one. And I was like, oh, cool. And I sent him a picture of a blue one. I'm like, is it like this? Because back then it was the only blue Weber that we had seen. And he replied and said, no, it's different. It's lighter than that. And at first I was like, oh shit, is it like spray painted or is it not a Weber? What's going on? And I show up to this guy's house at like 11 o'clock at night or whatever in the shitty part of Rockford, Illinois. And when he showed me his grill, I was like, oh my God, I've never seen that. I've never seen a picture of that color. And I can tell by looking at it that it's old and original. And I remember posting that picture, and we didn't know what the name was. We didn't know that it was called a Glen Blue Imperial back then. I remember being like, it's a baby blue grill, and we had to go digging up old catalogs just to figure out what that name was, what that color was back then. It blows my mind.
Yeah. Well, the way I got started, I was trying to build a table because I had a platinum, like the one with the side table, and it totally rotted away. It finally just rotted away. So then I got a performer, and I wanted two grills, but the grills, when I got a regular kettle, it sat next to the performer and it was much lower, and I didn't like it. Mm-hmm. So in my mind, I'm like, well, maybe I could just build kind of a table, and I don't know. I didn't want to just go pony up the cash. I didn't want to go over to Home Depot and spend $200 on two kettles. So I had, like I said, I had one. And then at the time, my wife knew this woman from the school in the PTO. And her dad was one of these guys that knows everybody. He's a character. His name's everyone calls him Dickie. And he's just like this crusty old guy. And he's always like, yeah, I know a guy. Blah, blah, blah. So I was like, hey, Dickie, if you ever stumble across a Weber kettle, let me know, because I have this project, and I could use one. So I don't think anything about it. Like 3 weeks later, I'm out in my backyard and I hear somebody yelling, and I'm looking, and it's Dickie. He's short, so he's on the other side of the gate, and I can't see him, and he's just yelling. So I undo the gate, and he's like, hey, I found some old grills for you. And, of course, he didn't bring by one. He brings by three. Like, well, I need one. Now I have three, It's like, great. So the two were, I had no idea what they were. But two of them were probably mid-'80s, with the three daisy wheels. But I really wanted the one with the ash sweeper, because if I built it into a table, it would be much easier to contain. And, if you don't have the legs on, then you don't have any way, to contain the ashes and all that. So I was trying to cobble all that together and put them in a table. But there was another one. And this other one was different. It was just different enough that I was like, oh, this stupid grill. And it didn't say, Weber on the vent or anything. So I'm like, this generic turd, because my whole life, my mom and dad would buy like a generic kettle. So, and they were always some Kmart or, some generic kettle. So in my mind, this was a generic kettle. So I rolled it into the bushes, and all summer long, I'm mowing the yard. I hit this thing. I try to move it. The lid falls off. It's got the goofy ash pan that falls off. One of the wheels would fall off. Boiled my blood all summer long. I'm kicking it around the yard. So come October, at work, we always did they did like an Oktoberfest. I know it's supposed to happen in September, but nobody else knows that. So they wanted to brew. It was like a beer brewing thing. Or they wanted everyone to brew beer and bring it. And we had done that for a couple of years, but they're like, we could really use some sausages. We'd grill some sausages. I'm like, oh, I have the perfect grill. I'm going to bring this grill. I have this turd that's been kicking around my yard. I'm going to bring it. We're going to cook on it, and I'm going to leave it in the forest. If it flies out of my truck on 53 on the expressway, I don't care. This stupid piece of crap. So I get there, cooking sausages. It's all good. Well, the IT guy stumbles by drunk. And he's like, hey, where did you get this vintage Weber, man? I'm like, what? It's not a Weber. He's like, no, look at the vent, man. It says Weber Stevens, like Arlington Heights. They've been in Arlington Heights in like 30 years, man. This is vintage. And I was like, whoa, really? So now it went from total turd that's been kicking around my yard to, well, maybe he's right, you know? So now I pack it all up, and now I put it back in my truck. I bring it home, and I went and I searched, how do you determine the age of a Weber kettle? And the virtual Weber bullet site popped up, and that picture that Jeff had, and I was like, holy shit, you know, that's awesome. So I posted, and Jeff responded. I think you responded, Troy. And they're like, well, what are the wheels made out of? I'm like, I don't know. They look like they're steel with rubber treads. And they're like, well, does it have thumb screws? I said, yeah, the little thumb screws hold the legs on. Then, you know, of course, everyone starts throwing a fit. Like, oh, my God, that thing's, you know, from the late 60s. That's old. That's vintage. So now it went from this turd in my yard to, like, my most prized possession. And that was on a Thursday. I jumped on Craigslist and I found Craig, you ended up with that kettle, but that A code red.
Yep.
I bought that and an M code. I don't know, maybe it was M code. It was like from the mid 80s, 26er. I bought both
G
of
code.
those. Oh yeah, G code.
Yeah.
I bought.
Oh, I remember that grill. You had it.
Right, and I bought both of those in the first weekend. Like, you know, back in the day when you could literally just pop on Craigslist
and find them, pick them up.
Yeah, pick up a red A code, black 26.
In Chicago, you can. That was the Chicago thing.
Yes, in Chicago. But I mean, you know, without it being a shit show, without it being a free for all, you could just.
Times were very different.
Yeah, get that stuff, and and then it went on. I'm finding this and finding that, and about a month and a half in, I found a chestnut. And that chestnut, I broke the bank on it. I spent $55. I offered the guy $10 more than he was asking. And I was like, I don't know.
Those were the days.
Yeah.
I remember driving like 5 hours to pick up a $30 grill.
Right. And then, then from there, I was on the virtual site, and that's, Troy is on there, and you had your red 26. But there was, I think I needed a set of legs or something, or an ash pan. We were going to meet at like Randall and 90 to make some sort of exchange. But then I figured out you were in Rockford. My neighbor lives in Rockford. So
yeah,
you met Pete, and he, carried stuff back and forth. But
that was weird when you were like, go to this car dealership and ask for a guy named Pete. And then
I mean,
like,
you
is
don't
this
know
you?
any of these.
Right. I thought your name was Brian.
This will end well.
Yeah, it's so normal,
Shout out Pete. Pete did a lot of transactions back in the day.
Pete did do a lot of transactions.
Probably still does.
Yeah, he does some stuff every now and again.
Craig, how did you find the virtual bullet? How did you get into Weber's in the very beginning?
Well, my entrance into this hobby, I have my late grandfather to thank for that. My dad's dad, Grandpa Hill. He and my grandma, they had an 18 red thumb screw what do we call the red ones? Sorry, the Easterner, as we would find out later. They had that. I remember being fascinated by it when I was a kid, because at home we only had, that box-shaped gas grill that just about everyone had in the 70s and 80s. That they rusted out, they burned the hell out of everything you made. But my grandpa had the Weber, and it was always fun to see him cook on that. He would use the electric, the hoop-shaped electric starter, and it'd take a good 45 minutes to an hour for the coals to get hot, but I didn't care. And I was always fascinated by it turning dark red when it would get hot. Well, time went by, I got older, and I wanted a Weber kettle. Of course, I was living in an apartment at the time. Couldn't use them there, but I wanted one for someday when I got a house. Well, by the time I was old enough to buy my own kettle, they weren't making the red ones anymore. When I was on my own anyway, I should say. Closest I could get was plum. This was 2000, 2001, 20 years ago. My God. But anyway, it's hard to believe that was 20 years ago. My grandfather passed away in 2002, and I inherited that grill. It sat in storage, the apartments I lived in, and when I moved here to my house in 2008, of course, it was one of the first things that came out. And took up cooking because we used to eat out a lot, waste money and that kind of thing. So I got this little 18 thumb screw red out and started cooking meals at least once a week, twice a week, and it got to be more and more. And I'm like, God, I love this grill, but I wouldn't mind finding a 22 in red. Of course, I knew they didn't make them. They hadn't made them for 10 years at this point, 2009. So I looked up Craigslist, and I found a red 22 that was in the neighborhood across the street from me, and got it for $50. It was a 1995 E-code red, as I would find out later, the year. The handles were rotted away. They were trashed, gone. So I ended up putting some replacement nylon Weber handles on it from Ace Hardware. And I'm like, I love it, but man, I wish it had wood handles. So anyway, I went on to Virtual Weber Bullet. This was in 2010. I went on Virtual Weber Bullet to find out, more about these grills that I had, my grandpa's and this one I had acquired. And I'd seen Jeff K's picture, and I'm like, just like you guys were saying a little bit ago, wow. Oh my God, this is really cool. And at the time, I'm like, those are really cool, but I don't know if I can find those here. Red is really what I want to find. So I picked up, a couple months later, I picked up a Smoky Joe, Budweiser Red Smoky Joe on eBay for like, I think $65. This was Christmas time, 2010. And then I picked up a Go Anywhere. It was black, but a Go Anywhere. So I don't have a picture on me, but it's somewhere on the computer, and I think it's on one of the earlier posts of Weber Kettle Club of my collection at the time. It was an 18 red, a 22 red, the Go Anywhere, and the Red Smoky Joe. That was it. And I remember at the time, my wife was like, "How many grills do you have?" This was what, 4 grills at the time?
Yeah, I remember having those same arguments.
Yeah. And yeah, 4. So, and the red ones were the ones that intrigued me. So it kind of went from there, and when I'd seen these other colors, I'm like, God, where am I going to find these? I had hard enough time finding red ones here. Usually here it's just black that comes up on Craigslist and locally. Very rarely does anything else come up. So yeah, it kind of went from there. So I was on Virtual Weber Bullet for about 2 years, chatting with you guys, getting to know you guys. First Glen Blue I saw, I believe, was yours, Troy. And then, of course, I saw the red 26er that Jeff had, and I'm like, oh, I need to get one of those. But anyway, that's how I got into the collecting. And then, of course, Weber Kettle Club. There was a software update at Virtual Weber Bullet.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
In the summer of 2012, and I'd been intermittent. I'd been active but intermittent. I wasn't like, that.
That went down after we had already started the Weber Kettle Club, and
right,
like
but I didn't.
Right in the middle of that drama, yeah.
And I didn't know about that at the time.
We couldn't tell anybody.
No, you couldn't. I know
every time we post, we get deleted.
Right. So I'm like, God, what happened? The site's the charcoal kettle page or board is really quiet. Like, where the hell did everyone go? Well, and then I saw a link from Chris Ellingham saying, "Oh, you can find." Someone's asking where Troy was. Is what it was. You can find him over here with his friends at whatever Kettle Club. Okay, follow the link. And I found you guys. And I'm like, oh, this is where everyone is now.
Yep.
That was on August 8th, 2012. I found Weber Kettle Club, and I think you guys had started in June.
Yeah, it sounds about right. Oh, we were on the virtual bullet site for a good year and a half, 2 years, I think.
Yeah. For me, it was about 2 years.
We started collecting catalogs on the virtual bullet site, and we just didn't have anywhere to put them.
I remember.
But I think back, we were just on there goofing around.
It was fun.
It was fun, but
it was like 5 people, 5-10 people that were into it.
Right, a handful of people, but it was about the collecting and not about the food. And I think that's where it was like
it created a unintentional chasm. I guess.
And the guys who wanted to, go on, just talk about cooking all the time,
share their 3 cooks every week.
Right.
Or every day.
Taking up their we were taking up their space, and it was irritating them.
And we were a different pace.
Yeah.
Like those guys would log in once a day and make a post. And we'd log in 5-6 times a day and have conversations. We'd have a full conversation.
It was ongoing conversation, right?
Yeah, and that was too fast for them.
And it was creating a rift. And we were getting in trouble and stuff was getting deleted.
You were getting in trouble.
Yeah, and we had talked about it. And finally, I was like, Troy, this is out of control. Yeah, I had been, I don't know.
Did you get banned? Or
I don't know if it was like not banned, but it was like
a warning
for 3 days or 5 days or something.
Because you were butting heads pretty hard with somebody.
Yeah, there was a few other
guys. A couple of them
stirring the pot.
Yeah. You were pushing me pretty hard. Like
that's when I was like
emailing me, like, aren't you a web guy? Like dude, can't you make a website or something?
Can't you make a website? And when I got banned, I remember I was sitting in this taco place at lunch, and I think you responded, and you're like, I'm at some death metal show out in Seattle or something. When I get back, I'll work on it.
Yeah, I flew to Seattle just to see Opeth and Ghost.
Yes.
Yep, I remember that.
Yep. Back.
It was basically you guys, you two here, and a couple others in those charcoal kettle forums at Virtual Weber Bullet. That's what drew me there. That's what made it fun. I'd sit at that I'm pointing at the desk over here. I'd sit at that laptop for 4 or 5 hours in the evening.
Oh yeah.
On a Friday night and Saturday night, we just go back and forth.
Just live on there, and it was just an ongoing conversation.
We'd start scouring the entire country for grills.
Yeah, we would. It was great.
Just for the site and the information.
Right.
And I wanted to know how old my grandpa's grill was, because I heard there was some, I guess, conflicting, for lack of a better term, conflicting stories of how old it was and when he got it.
And no one really knew.
Oh, right. Yeah. No one knew that shit back then.
Yeah. So I would, of course, find out it was from the mid 60s, 1966, 67 era. They got it when my dad graduated high school that year. He graduated in 66. So, and of course, I found that out a couple years later. But I wanted to know, point is, I wanted to find out how old this thing was. I wanted to know how old the grill I picked up across the road was. EO code. Okay, what is this? Now, they did have, I know Virtual had the codes on their site at the time.
Can you explain a little bit? It could be some people listening may not know what the fuck we're talking about with
like the date codes.
Unknowns. So the date code started at 79.
1979. Yes.
So anything 79 or newer has a date code that you can use to figure out when it was manufactured. It
starts with A.
Right. It starts with, and yeah, for those who are wanting to find out, and I won't go through each year, but I'll give you an idea. From 1979 through 1993, it's a single letter, A through P. Okay. Now they did skip a couple letters. They skipped D. They skipped I. And they stopped at P. Then they went to double letters after that. And the double letters, I know to kind of touch on it, in the not from 1994 onward, they were start with an E from 94 to 99, excuse me. Like EO, EI, ER. I might be going out of order. I'm sorry. EZ, ED. It always ended with
Which
a D.
you can find that list fairly easily.
Yes, you can. You can find
Google
it.
search.
And then they went to D's in 2000, double D, and then they went to A code, A, in the 2010s. But then they stopped in 2015. They went, or excuse me, in 2013 they stopped. They went to serial numbers.
Okay.
Like full on serial numbers, CN and which is up above higher on the.
So
the
when we were starting to collect, we basically had that letter code and nothing else. Like we would find a grill and it's like, there's no code.
Right.
It must be before 79.
Right. And then
that was
some
it.
would say patent pending, and some would say nothing, and some would have a weird Weber font. But
and the patent pending was probably like our first actual date clue. Like we were like, we can look up patent numbers. We can figure out when the applications were filed, when they were granted, when it went from patent pending to a number. But as we learned, even those dates were gray area as far as
they were. And I know I cannot take credit for finding the dates of the patents. And I'm forgetting who did. I'm sorry. If I think of it, I'll remember.
PB Gummy Bear.
Oh yes, I think you're right. Yeah, in fact, I guarantee it was. November.
Shout out Lawrence.
Yes, Lawrence Gummy Bear. November 1968 is when they filed the patent. It was granted on November 10th, 1970. Now, of course, we thought for the longest time that only 1969 and 1970 grills were the patent pending kettles, which makes sense, right? But then we'd find out a couple years later, as we found more catalogs, that they were granted the patent, in 1970, but they continued to put patent pending on for another year or two on the kettles, because the catalogs were printed as such in the literature. 1973 is when they started listing the patent number.
Wow. Between 79 and when did Weber start actually manufacturing? We know that the grill was invented in 52, but when did they really start being for sale?
George Stephen was making them for his neighbors out of Weber Brothers Metalworks, cutting buoys in half. I know we know this, but for people that are interested to find out, he was making buoys for Lake Michigan from Weber Brothers Metalworks, and decided he was an avid griller. He had built his own big brick barbecue, and he wasn't happy with the wind blowing ashes all over his food, because here in the Midwest, wind and barbecue, it's like bread and butter. I have to learn to work with it. But anyway, he was selling them to his neighbors, and then he started making them at the Metalworks within that same year, and then he went wide production the following year, and only sold locally in Chicago, of course.
And he basically took over the factory in 55 or 56?
Isn't
that what I said?
You mean like when the grilling became the kettles became the primary?
Yeah.
1958.
58.
Is when he bought out. Yeah, is when he bought it, when they moved to Wooddale.
Okay.
Would have been when he bought out the interest in the company and made the grills the sole manufacturer.
So the 25 years worth of kettles that all have changes happening in manufacturing and the vents and the styles and the colors.
Oh yeah, lots of little changes. Everything from how the legs were put on originally to where the sockets would go to where the vents would go. I mean, originally they only had one vent in the bowl that was just like the lid vent.
I remember reaching out to Weber, like calling their number and just expecting them to have this information available. Like, I'm like, hey, I got this old grill, and they're like, oh, yeah, we don't have anything.
Cool.
We don't know. We don't know shit.
No, we don't know.
I'm like,
no,
damn. Like,
hey,
they made a history poster that was wrong.
It's really just somebody answering the phone. Like, they don't care. They're trying to,
there's a guy on the phone that wants to know how old his grill is. I don't know. No, I'm just kidding.
Another one.
Oh my God, another one of those guys.
Other guys from the Weber Kettle Club, yeah, and that's the thing too. Like they got to know from customer service, like, oh, you guys from the Weber Kettle Club, like always trying to get parts. You guys have 40 grills registered.
Yeah, I think registered. I think I have 4 registered.
One of each style, so you can get any part.
No, I do have them. I have them, and they're the modern ones that are registered. I know. No, I don't have my baby blue 1962 registered. I tried. They said no.
Right. I want to go back to something that we kind of touched on earlier with the Jeff K photo, because I remember I was on my wife's computer. I was using my wife's computer, and I showed her that picture. And at the time, I had one Weber, and this was like 2010. And a little backstory: in like 2004, 2005, I started a website called whatsonyourgrill.com, and it was a barbecue blog that was community based. And I didn't have a Weber. I cooked on different types of grills and smokers, but I was really into barbecue. And I eventually gave up on that and went full Weber. And when I was thinking about starting another website, I showed my wife Jeff K's picture of those 5 grills. And I was like, hey, what if instead of having like a couple different types of grills, what if I had like a setup like Jeff K's where I had 5 different colors, or maybe 3? I mean, that was less extreme for my wife. I'm like, what if I had 3 grills? Is 3 okay? And she's like, you need 3 grills? And I was like, well, 3 different color grills. And she was on board. And that's how I really started, because I wanted to have that setup.
The early days of rationalizing the collection.
Yeah.
Oh man. And it turned into something. I remember at one point, when I moved to California, I got rid of 37 grills. Like
you were heaping them in the garbage.
I did. I threw. Well, they were black ones.
Yeah. Remember we were gonna make the chairs and all that.
Yep.
And you're like, yeah.
I still want to do that. It's still on my list.
Yeah.
Like make bar stools out of the bowls.
Yeah.
Somebody did that, didn't?
It was on Good Eats. Elton Brown was the original.
Oh, okay.
I bet they'd fall over pretty easy though.
No, if they were made right. I'm not going to use the aluminum legs, but
you couldn't.
That's
if you take like
good ideas,
like a really thick pole to put at the bottom of the bowl, it'll look like a sweet gas kettle.
Yeah, you need to
and have the Y-shaped legs at the bottom.
Yeah,
the feet.
That would definitely work.
That would be cool.
Check out my sweet 70s gasser stools.
Oh man! So in the early days of like the Weber Kettle Club, once we migrated and built this new site, we started gathering catalogs and gathering information, and the movement snowballed. Like everybody was just coming out of the woodwork with like, I found this old red, and it was like, who are you and how did you get here? And Brian, you were integral. You made wooden replacement handles. Like you were the guy who made it possible for people to put a good looking handle on their old grill once they restored it.
A lot of it started, you had that baby blue, and I had a couple of chips in the lid. And this is back in the day when, people still thought they could probably fix the chips in the lid.
How do I repaint my grill?
Yeah, I got
Mondo.
Yeah.
So I
sent the lid with Pete.
You sent the baby blue lid with Pete, and he brought it, and I
was so scared to give you that.
I know. I mean, again, somebody on the internet, you've never met this guy. You just
I'm like, this is one of a kind right now.
Yeah, you can't find these things,
At the time, it was.
Really, truly. Listen, any baby blue is still extremely it's rarefied air.
That's a very rare grill.
And I will never send it along with some dude from a car dealer to some other dude you met on some chat group. Like, really?
Uh-huh.
But I got it, and your handle was trashed.
Oh God!
But I had scored another grill, and the handle was good. The handle was good on my pre-patent pending, the one Dickie got for me. So I work in a different model shop. That's what I do. But we reverse engineered the handle. We drew it up in CAD and cut some. And I mean, just I put one on your lid and repaired it all and sent it back to you with the fresh handle. And I think at that point you just posted the handle.
Yeah. Like, look what Brian made.
And it just went berserko.
Oh, yeah. People were messaging me like, where did you get that? I'm like, did you read the post? The post says I got it from Brian.
And then I think it was when, after I probably made 20 or 30, we put a PayPal button up on the site.
Yeah.
And it was like, I mean, from that point on,
I remember you were complaining about it.
You can't keep up. I mean, it got so crazy. And
I remember like when we finally met and we were talking and everything, and you were showing me pictures, like your dining room table had 200 handles lined up. You were stealing them or whatever.
I can remember late night polo sessions with Brian talking, and he would be spraying just shitloads of handles on the patio, on the table out back at his house, and then there'd be other nights he would be just feverishly packing grills as he's talking to me.
Not grills,
sanding. Handles. Sanding.
Yeah, sanding.
Yep. And you had them all like sitting on like sticks, right? Didn't you have them like standing up?
I'd put them on little skewers.
Sorry, I'm holding a handle.
Yeah.
Show off that beautiful handle.
Oh, yes. This is one of Brian's creations here. This is a replica of the 1981 to 83 handle. Whoever the one, the only. This has actually been outside. Sorry.
Brian chewed on it before I give it to you.
Brian gnawed on it for me. It was just for me. Yes.
Brian, you want to show one of your? Do you have some handle?
Yeah, I got. Well, right here, handy, from the Meetup. So, I mean, not to pile on a different story, but I try to do a unique handle for the Meetup. We have it turned into a Meetup thing.
Every year.
So every year I try to make a unique handle. So, but you have to show up to get them.
Yeah.
Fight with Shoestring always tries to finagle a few extras, but I try to make it so you got to show up to get them.
You have to be there.
That's beautiful.
Zebra wood.
Love it.
I still have that. Everyone loves this cross grain zebra, but they break.
They do break. Mine broke after 12 months.
Do they just not recommend them? It's like
do they break along the grain there, or what?
Yeah, because it's going
I've never had one
the
of those.
grain, and
there's
it just
not enough strength.
They just fall apart.
But those handles were a huge part of the Weber Kettle Club.
Huge part, and I think it drove a lot of traffic to the Weber Kettle Club,
and it made people so happy that they could take their.
It was amazing.
It's like their grill is new again. And then there was a wave.
The first time I did it, it was actually we got them cut. And it was on Thanksgiving. And I got all the turkeys. I had like 4 turkeys going on 4 kettles. And I went out and bolted those handles on. And it was like, the feeling I had, it's like it looked so sweet. Everything was fixed. It was all repaired. It was no more garbage.
There was even the wave of people coming with like, hey, I got a new Weber and this plastic handle sucks. I missed my old wooden handle. And they would want to, they would find the Weber Kettle Club and they would like, you guys are passionate about kettles. I love this. And they would just feel at home. Yeah. It really started a huge movement.
I think it definitely, I mean, it just plays on, you're customizing it the way you want it. Then I started getting a different kind of woods and people started requesting stuff. And it's you making it your own. Is really more than just making it vintage. It's just, you make it yours. So.
And I've seen so many sweet combinations between, customizing like an ebony handle on a lime green kettle from the mid 70s, or not. I don't own one of those, but like someone else has done that. That's really cool. Or you want to go full on restore and do a walnut handle on the same type of grill.
And the funny thing is, like, I have all kinds of my own personal rules about stuff. Like for me, I'll make whatever for whoever, but I have my own rules. Like, I feel like vintage kettles should have the vintage handles and look the way they did, like showroom factory fresh, but the newer kettles, you do whatever you want. It's not old, it's not vintage, so it's like slap whatever you want. But,
like for me, anything after 1985 for me, I would say is fair game. Do what you want with the handles.
Yeah.
But before that, I'd want to go original.
I've always secretly wanted one of those. Who's the other guy that makes those the curvy where it's like more ergonomic and
Marty
fancy?
Leach.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Marty Leach. Shout out Marty Leach. I've always wanted one of those, but my grill lineup was never like allowing it. Like my grill lineups are always too vintage or like I can't put a Marty Leach on one of them
and
because
it was weird when I started making them. It was like people acted like there was a competition. I'm like,
I remember that.
It's two totally separate things.
Yeah.
He's
and
making
we even linked
something.
to it.
What I do is trying to make the old stuff look new again. He's making custom totally different ergonomic.
And those look pretty sweet. Those Marty Leach handles look pretty sweet on the Smoky Mountain cookers.
Yeah, I think that's really the bread and butter on that Smoky Mountain.
We have always been open and supporting of anybody in the community offering things. It's like when other people like make handles, it was never a stepping on your toes or anything. It was like, that's cool. Like, it's wood. It's for a grill. It's not like it's your original thing. I mean, you're literally making a replacement handle.
It gets so crazy that it's like, if you think you can go do it, then go try to do it.
Yes,
I mean,
please.
I worked at a machine, essentially a machine shop with CNC machines, cutting these handles. And we had work to do, so we're trying to do it at night, and we're running these handles, and it's like, oh my God, like we'd have one machine kind of dedicated to it. We couldn't keep up, you're cutting round the clock. And the thing is, some grills need 3 handles, so some guy could conceivably, he got essentially 3 grills in a garbage dump, and now he wants
9 handles.
He needs 9 handles, 10 handles right out.
Yep.
That's why all the pre-1981 grills are more. I should say they're cheaper to restore with handles. You have one handle. You can
one handle, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's why eventually you had to get into wood dales just so you didn't have to buy any wood.
Yeah.
I don't have any wood dales. I did have a wood dale, but it was
wood dales.
Well, I had the one, but it was just rotted, and sadly that one went to parts. It was not restorable.
Which one?
Why did I not remember that?
The vents were. I could put my fist through where the vents were rented out.
Something you guys had touched on a little bit earlier is people. Back in the day in the 60s and 70s, you'd just cook. You'd let the ashes heap up in there. The ashes would be 8 or 10 inches deep.
And it gets wet.
And it gets wet. It gets moisture, and then that just rots those kettles.
Yeah, it gets like caustic, right? It gets
I don't know. It turns into something that
basically
pH gets really high or
really the moisture. Basically, everybody was Al Bundy. They never cleaned their grill.
Yeah,
ashes from the past for burgers of the future.
Yeah, and it was.
Oh God, I still hear that too.
But when you think
it's seasoning,
but think about
it's destroying your grill.
Without the ash sweeper to clean the ashes out of a daisy wheeler, it's like it is such a pain. In the ass.
That's why all those handles are always bent up because people just tip their grill over to dump the ashes.
It over, right?
Yeah.
So talking about those other grills I got, the 4th grill I got was a blue grill, and I was driving down the road and I saw it sitting out next to somebody's garage, and I just pulled into their driveway, and the guy's wrenching on his truck. It was a dude. He's I can see, I pull up behind him, he looks out from behind the car, he's like, who the fuck is this? I'm like, hey, you got that old grill, you interested in getting rid of that or anything? That old grill? I'm like, yeah. He's like, I don't want it, man. Take it home. So I roll it out. Well, when I open the lid, they had obviously cooked in it till it got so full of ashes it probably couldn't hold a fire anymore because it packed all the vents, And then it turned into a garbage can. So it literally had 300-400 Corona caps in it, rusting in the 15 inches of ash and cigarette butts and everything. And it's like, oh, geez. thank God I had a pickup truck. I just set it in the back of the pickup truck, and I'm going down the road. The ashes are just blowing out all over the highway.
If you were to pick up that same grill today, you probably would have just dumped the ashes at the end of their driveway.
I did start doing that after a while. Just start dumping it somewhere. A couple of times I did just dump it like right in the curb, you know.
Mm-hmm. I've done it too.
Yeah,
I've done it too.
Yeah, when I first started, I tried to be polite, but then after a while, it's like, screw it, I'm just dumping this shit out.
Totally off topic, but
I used to get such a kick though. I would put that grill in my truck, and I'd just put it upright, and I'd put some bungees, and I'm driving on the road, and the ashes coming out. It was like some massive cloud, and I'd just be giggling and driving.
Like
Jesus.
black snow blowing out of your...
Yeah. Could you imagine being behind a jerk like that? Just ashes everywhere.
Use the windshield wipers.
I picked up a free performer, and it was a weird one, and it was here, and it was at this giant apartment complex, and it was indoors. It was inside the parking garage, but in like the storage center. And the guy got me in there, and he's like, I'm not sure how you're gonna get it out, but you can have it. It's free. You just got to make sure you don't make a mess, because this is like a clean zone. Or I'm like, okay, I'm like, that's not a problem. I can take it apart.
No problem.
Turns out, 1, it was full of ashes. 2, he had been dumping the ashes from like the little bucket into the cover. So like the cover was underneath, and he'd been using the cover as a trash bag. So this guy who said keep this area clean, like while I take this grill apart, I got it all apart and loaded in the car, and then I picked up this cover, and I just like picked it up and like stretched it out, and ash went woof, just like, and it had to be like 3 gallons of ash, man. It was just filled the room with like this cloud. I'm like, fuck. Like,
Did you just keep moving?
Yeah, I'm like that's not on me.
What are you gonna do?
Well, it amazes me how little, like when people are listing grills on Craigslist or what have you, and you go to get them, you're selling something, right? You want to sell it, whether you're asking $25 or $200.
They just want that turd off their driveway.
Clean at least. And I'm not saying. I know. I'm not saying like scrub it down and make it factory brand new. At least get the goddamn ash out of there.
Dump the ash in the cigarette butts.
No, they just see it as some eyesore in their yard full of cigarette butts and ashes and beer caps, and they want it gone. So it's $25. Get it out of here.
And some of you look at some of the grills we've picked up over the years. Some of them, you open it like, they probably made, normal, burgers, dogs, whatever, who cares, just use some fire, clean it. Then you take some of them, like maybe some grill you've been looking for years, and you're excited you get it. You look inside and you're like, what the fuck died in here? Man, I'm going to be taking about 3 months to razor blade the shit out of this.
I think,
it's crazy.
The very first Wooddale I ever got was Grandpa, the big, 26. And it was so crusted with crap that it took me like 20 minutes to get the crud off of the vent wheel to actually read Wooddale. Like, that was my mission. Like, I have to see the words Wooddale on this vent. So I'm just like scrubbing and scraping. And it's like, oh my God, how dirty can this thing be?
That first Glen Blue that I picked up, the bottom vents, there was so much crud caked in the bowl that the bottom vents were essentially closed.
Yeah,
like there was like a pinhole.
How does that happen?
There was just, I don't know what the fuck they were cooking.
Again, probably leaving all that
grease
ash and all that.
But ash and years of chicken grease, it builds up and it freezes those vents.
This was before we discovered razor blades. And sadly, I remember spending like 20 hours just scrubbing the inside, trying to get
like
that
an idiot.
clean.
I used to just spray it down with oven cleaner and try to turn sludge or turn that crusted crap into sludge. And oh my God, heaven forbid you don't wear rubber gloves. That grease, that 50 years of grease, will be in the pores of your hands for 2 weeks until you get it out.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Yeah, grill restoration and cleaning has come a long way since the beginning. But I want to go back to you showed the handle. You make a unique Weber Kettle Club handle every year for the meetup. And I think the meetups are a big part of collecting in the community. The first one we had was 2012. I mean, the first one we had was at Weber Restaurant when we actually just met for lunch years.
Yeah.
But then
I
we
didn't get to go. I wasn't there.
Yeah, sadly.
It was early on.
Yeah, but then the first real meetup that we actually opened up to anybody in your backyard, Brian, right?
No, it was at Jeff's.
Jeff
Jeff's. The
K's.
first one was at Jeff's. That's right.
Jeff K's.
The first one.
And that was Lawrence flew in from California. So the very first meetup had interstate travel.
Right.
Yep.
And Marty, wasn't Marty there? Marty was from Pennsylvania or something.
That was 2013.
Yep.
Was it? Because that was the year I moved?
Yeah, it was. I remember it was the summer after.
Might have been.
It was because I brought the Glen Blue in the red, and I left them there with you.
I bought those off of you because you couldn't take them, and that was at the meetup. I got them.
That was sad because I was moving.
Yep. Listen, I got them back to you. You got them all back.
I remember that.
Yep, I have my Glen Blue still.
Yeah.
I had my own little meetup in the backyard that day because obviously I wasn't there.
You know, do you remember that? Remember the Australians actually called? And they were on the phone.
I do remember that.
I think they were drunk and you couldn't understand anything they were saying. I was just like, so I handed the phone off to somebody else.
I do remember that. And what do we have? I still have the picture from that meetup. I can show that picture.
Yeah, that's an awesome picture. I mean, that.
Yeah, it was.
Had to be.
I think you guys had the banner made for that, didn't you? Originally, for that meetup.
Yeah, somebody made that banner.
I just remember there's one of the pictures has Laurent Gummy on the ladder with his camera.
Yeah.
Taking pictures, and he did a lot of the photography, as I recall. Oh yeah, no, I was watching that like a hawk. I was like, I wish I could be there. I wish I could be there. It looked like a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was the second one we ended up doing at my house, just because Jeff's yard was almost outgrown immediately.
Oh yeah, we outgrew his yard the very first year. This was the first.
Oh
meetup.
Yes, there it is.
We didn't have a Weber Kettle Club meetup or a banner.
Oh, it was a Weber banner. Okay,
the Weber banner that somebody got from the store, from the Ace Hardware. So there's Grandpa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we had Jeff's Ranger.
Jeff's.
That wasn't
the barn find.
Was that the barn find?
Yeah.
That's the barn find.
Yeah.
So we got the barn find out. Oh yeah, because I moved that year. So yeah, the booby pink. That was the first booby pink.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, and there's another chestnut in the corner.
That wasn't the first. That was.
It wasn't the first of that line, but it was the first one that we seen that was that pink.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because we were confused. It's like, is this a chestnut or is this something different?
What about the metal handle ranch back there?
Yeah, with the painted lid.
Yeah, or the messed up lid, the jacked up lid.
Didn't that make its way to California?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep, that ended up getting traded to California.
Wow.
Let's see. Both Rangers are there.
Look, we got grills in this picture that aren't even rare by.
No, it was like everything
of color. Yeah.
Keep them up.
Yep. It's fascinating.
What about the there, the one on the white cart?
The Seville.
The Seville, yeah. When I got that was an awesome score to find that Seville.
I was gonna say that was yours, wasn't it? Yeah.
It was at an estate sale, and I'm driving to work, and I was late, and there was all this. Somebody was stopped trying to turn into this estate sale. And I look over, I'm sitting there, and I look over, and I can see it sitting in the estate sale. And I mean, dude, you see something like that? I mean, back in the day, like, oh my God, my heart about jumped out of my chest, and I pulled in there. And, man. And I guess it had been at this estate sale a couple of weeks. And so they went half price on it. So I picked it up for $120.
Oh, wow. Man. That's like a steal today.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
I would love to find that era of Seville. And no matter what color the kettle is, red or avocado color, I would love to have one. It would match my patio table.
So the meetup happens not only every year in Chicago now, but now there are several meetups. There's East Coast, West Coast, Australia, Florida.
Mini meetups.
Mini meetups.
Yeah.
It's amazing how it's brought people together and made people have friendships in the space, because that's kind of important.
Well, and it is, so much, you go on these forums or whatever on, Facebook or wherever, and it's just somebody's name, but you don't ever really get to meet these people. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's an excellent opportunity to actually meet up with them, or a large group. You might meet one or two guys here or there, depending on what your level of whatever you're up to. But when you go to those meetups, and then you go there a couple of years, and then you get to know the people's personalities and
their families.
So yeah,
it's great. I mean, it goes from just making little trades to having real friends in the community.
Yeah,
absolutely. And it's funny because it took me 2012 we started Kettle Club. I didn't get to go to my first meetup until 2016 at Brian's, and I've gone every year since. And over the years, doing what I do, looking up the history and studying these kettles like the nerd that I am, had fun with it. I got to where my third meetup in Chicago, there was a member that wanted to have their picture taken with me, and I'm like, what? You want to have your picture taken with me? Okay, sure. I was like, I'm not that cool, I'm just
a historian, man.
Historian, just looking up kettles. The grills do the talking. But no, and it was I was flattered, but I was surprised. I'm like, wow, okay. No, hey, Brian's over there. He's cool. Take a picture with him. There's Troy, but no, that was a cool moment. I have that picture. Actually, it's on my phone.
The meetups have gotten big. We've gotten big.
It actually now it's outgrown my house. Now it's
because we did your house
down the road from my house now.
And you had house, a big backyard.
I got a big backyard, but it was
14 through 18 was at your house, I think. Yeah, it was.
And it was 2017 when I made the last video?
I believe so.
So I went the next year, but I didn't actually make a video.
I think so. Because I know in 2018 we had 101 grills in Brian's backyard.
Okay.
And then
what did we have
last year? I want to say it was 112.
Come on.
I might be wrong.
So 2017 was the biggest one then? Because that one we had 150.
At 2017 we had 150.
In the video that I shot, I say
17 was the year. 17 was the year we had the drone, right?
Yeah.
The drone view was a really clear, beautiful day. Yes, I think you're right.
And part of it is, after people go for a couple of years, then they start getting jaded. They don't want to bring all their stuff. They just want to show up for a little bit,
Yeah. Sorry.
Like me, I mean, we're there the night before, setting stuff up late at night, working feverishly, but having fun while we're doing it.
Yeah. It's a passionate hobby.
Mm-hmm.
But the meetups have been amazing. I want to see more meetups.
And I think we, not to toot our own horn, but I think we do a good job in being inclusive, if you will. Like, the wives come. Well, I use the term wives because it's usually guys that are there, and we don't make them feel left out or, oh, you're going to hate this. This is boring. No, they sit and talk. Or when we were at Brian's, they use the pool. Whatever.
And it's always interesting for the people that show up for the first time because, you don't know what to expect. And, I guess for the most part, it was always at my house. So, it's easier for me to show up. But, last year there was a couple of guys. I mean, they didn't really know anybody. And they just knew they lived within close proximity. And then they just showed up and they brought their stuff.
They brought food to cook.
They're cooking, and it's like, that's awesome. I mean, when you can go to almost complete strangers' house and cook a meal for a bunch of people you don't even know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's fun because we all, pretty much all of us, we collect, but we like to cook too. We like to, drive our cars, as I like to say. My grills are my classic cars. I like to drive them. So it is fun to cook. And, people show up, they have fun, they bring their stuff. There was one guy a couple of years ago, he was embarrassed to bring his grill. I said, well, what do you mean? Well, you don't want to see this. It's a 1983 black, one touch. I said, bring it.
Yeah, who cares?
What's exciting about it? I said, who cares? Bring it. He brought that thing, and this was right around the time we were all talking about orange peel finish on the grills. imperfection, even though we don't think of it as such.
Mm-hmm.
So, the wavy lines, for those who are not familiar, it looks like water waves on the porcelain. He brought this 83 black One Touch. It had been cooked on maybe a couple of times here or there. This thing was fucking gorgeous. I wanted it. I'm like, damn, that's a sweet grill. And he didn't think this was, worth a damn. Like, no, it's great. And people were looking at it and taking pictures of it. So the point is, it doesn't have to be some extreme rare bird. Yeah, those are cool, but bring what you have, Every kettle tells a story. I don't care who you are or what you have. Every kettle tells a story.
I chased down my dad's original Weber, like the one that he had, like, because I as we talked earlier, like the red, they weren't making him. When I called my dad and said, hey, whatever happened to that grill? He's like, oh, I gave it to so-and-so. So I called that person and like, hey, what happened to that grill? I'm like, oh, I gave it to this person. I'm like, oh, I just kept doing that. And eventually I found it and I got it back.
And that's just because, let's see if my memory is any good here. That's an F code, right?
Your memory's probably better than mine. I always remember it as a J, but I think
maybe
you're
it
right.
was.
Might be an F.
Because that's the one you've used as part of your Cajun Bandit thing, right?
Yeah.
Or is that a different one? That is
you're I did.
Okay.
I drilled into it. I cut it up a little bit. I modified it and I made it my smoker. At the time, it was my dad's grill, but I didn't have a spot in my lineup for another 3-legged red. Like I wanted to keep the grill, but I needed it to fit in my lineup and I needed a smoker. I may convert it back. I don't know.
And the fun of these meetups is, and I think maybe more so now, the deals are made ahead of time, but you'd see deals happen on site. I'm not saying that you're going to lose what you brought. If it's not something you're trading, you're not going to trade it, but you'd be surprised what you go home with, not expecting to go home with. Oh, wow, this is really sweet.
Plus the door prizes. I mean, that one year there was shit. I think everybody left with $100 worth of stuff.
Oh,
easily.
Yeah, the swag bags and all that stuff.
Yep, and from Weber, a lot of it. They've contributed.
Well, the one that I was thinking of, a lot of it was from Jeff Bolt.
I'm sorry, I was thinking of Jeff Bolt, but I thought they had dropped in some stuff too at one point.
Weber has got involved. They dropped off even at the very first one. Weber had bags of it had to be the first one because I didn't go to the second one. I skipped the second one.
Jeff Bolt, he had brought a carload of swag a couple years ago, which was awesome of him to do that.
Yeah, he donated what had happened is he had donated a grill to the Weber Kettle Club.
Right.
And the way we did is we sold it on eBay, and then he used all of the proceeds timed perfectly with the clearance sale at the Weber store.
That's right.
Shout out Jeff Bolt. Thank you for that. That was awesome.
Absolutely.
The Weber Kettle Club, all the meetups, all the things have always been
swag bags.
People. Like it's always been. It's not
Kevin Coleman showed up one year and brought a bunch of stuff.
I remember Dustin was there one year, the executive chef from the restaurant.
Yeah, that was the year before I was there. And the only reason I remember that is because I got my Red 26er that year in 2015. And he cooked on my Red 26er. You guys had a bunch of chicken legs on it.
I remember that.
Oh, my God.
I remember that.
I laugh because every time I look at my Red 26er, I'd wanted one for years and it took me 5 years to get one. I finally get one, and this thing was covered in chicken
sauce,
shit grease
all over the place.
Those were the Haas wings, weren't they?
The brand new handle that Brian made was covered in grease. This thing, I have pictures of it. It looked like someone had diarrhea and just went all over it.
Well, and the worst part was,
it was hilarious.
It was like somebody dumped it off at my house, and they're like, "Oh, you got to ship this to Craig." And then I open it up, and somebody had cooked all this horrible crap, and it was like,
it was chicken.
So here's a picture from the West Coast meetup 2015. So this is the San Francisco.
Oh, I remember. I mean, I wasn't there, but I remember the pictures from this. This is really cool.
Yeah.
I see
green Jumbo Joe.
Yeah.
I see one of my grills in that picture.
Which one?
The green MEH.
This one?
Yep. If Dazzo is there, that was Dazzo's at the time.
Yeah, I see Wins in his Westerner. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Is that a
Yep.
Wooddale? That's not a Wooddale Western?
Oh, yeah, his was a Wooddale.
I think that's the one I got.
You ended up with Winds's?
Maybe.
Wow.
I thought yours, Brian. I thought yours was a Wooddale. No, his was a Wooddale. So then, therefore, yours
Yeah,
would be.
I think it might be Winds's.
We've been
Amazing.
talking about Wooddale, and we know what that is. But for those that don't know, what's a Wooddale? Should I answer my own question? Sorry.
You're gonna have to.
Okay, I will do that. All right. So the kettles, George Stevens started them in the 50s. He made them his factory in Chicago, so they were stamped Chicago, Illinois on the vents in the early
on the
years.
bottom of the vent.
Bottom of the vent by the tab, the turn tab. And in 1958, they moved to Wooddale, Illinois. So they started stamping the kettles with Wooddale, Illinois vents. And then in 1965, they moved to Arlington Heights. And of course, the change happened. And in 1983, they moved to Palatine, Illinois, and started stamping their kettles in 1984 with Palatine, Illinois. So we rarely refer to the Palatine-made kettles as Palatines.
Palatonians.
Yeah.
We typically don't refer to the Arlington Heights made kettles as Arlington Heights. We might bring it up once in a while, but Wooddale tends to refer to those metal lid handle kettles where there's no wood handles anywhere. It's all metal. Their sweet grills burn the hell out of your hand. Bring an oven mitt or
isn't there some wood handled Wooddales?
Yes, there are. There's a couple out there. In fact, I'm glad you brought that up. I had one. Brian has it now. Very last Wooddales were made late 64. They started Weber changed to the wood lid handle in like the fall of 1964 when they were still making them in Wooddale. So yes, they are out there. There was a black one that I had that Brian has now. We tend to refer to those wood lid handled 60s kettles with the thumb screws as thumb screw MBHs, which is metal bowl handle. There's a very nice red one out there that I believe Stephen Lieberman has. There's a Wooddale wood lid handle. They are rare. They don't come up very often because they weren't made for very long before they switched over to Arlington Heights.
Right.
So
it's fascinating. There's so much information. And there's so many little gotchas and.
I have a chestnut copper tone that's Arlington Heights stamped, wood lid handle, thumb screws, the whole nine. But it has the Wooddale era kettles, the lid vent had a square shaped turn tab. Well, my Arlington Heights chestnut, they used a leftover square turn tab and stamped it Arlington Heights. So it's like a 65. It's very early.
That's crazy.
Production run. And this thing, I love this grill. I've had it for coming up on 3 years now.
Wow.
One of my favorites.
Wow. Well, this has been a fascinating piece of information, tidbits, and
a little bit of information about everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
For the record, I am number one member of the Weber Kettle Club. Number one.
You were so fast.
Yeah. I think I'm number 12.
Troy, you just you assigned the people. Early on, I think there was 5 people to start.
Probably, yeah. I think
there was. I don't even know how to find it, but there's a way to find what number you are.
There is on the website.
Number on the website if you go on the Weber Kettle Club. But Troy, you just randomly input, and I think I just happened to be. I probably bitched about it so much you just thought.
Now there's like 17,000 activated members.
Is that how you became number one agent? Because you were number one member? No.
No, I was doing a lot of trading, and the whole. I think the Australian.
Oh no, you weren't number one.
Agent X.
Agent X. Never mind. I'm the wrong person.
Yeah.
I should know that by now.
Yeah.
In one of our next episodes, I really want to talk about agenting and territories because that shit blows my mind. Because I remember when Jeff K when I snagged that $30 lime out of his neighborhood, and he's like, "You're lucky I was on vacation." I was like, "Whoa." Yeah, people get snippy, but we'll talk about that in one of our next episodes.
Yes.
I think we wrapped up pretty good about how Weber Kettle collecting became a thing, how the Weber Kettle Club became a thing, how we all came together, how the community of Weber Mania brings people together.
Yeah.
I consider you guys some of my best friends, and a lot of the people that I've met in the Weber community have remained in touch, even if they're not into Webers anymore.
I want to ask Brian, I know when it is, and maybe Troy knows when it is, but tell our friends, when is the meetup this year?
You want me to answer that?
Oh, I guess it's not at your house.
I don't remember anything like that.
I'm sorry. July 18th. July 18th.
Okay, good.
2020.
The 28th. Yeah, I was going to say it was around the 25th, but last year, it had to be a week earlier. Yes.
So July 18th.
July 18th.
Chicago.
July 18th.
Yep.
For the annual Weber Kettle Club meetup. It's the biggest Weber meetup in the world. Happens every year.
In the world.
Yep, it's happening, and then that's a Saturday, and the night before we typically like to go hang out at the Weber Grill restaurant and shoot the breeze and just relax, have a good time. This it's the judgment-free zone. We like to have a good time.
Oh yeah.
If you leave hungry, it's your own fault. So even if you're not in the kettles, there's lots of food.
Yep.
Lots of people to talk to and have fun with. If you're not into the kettles, we're not going to go, oh, you can't be here. Sorry. No.
Right. And if you don't want to cook, you don't have to cook. You don't
have to cook.
You don't have to bring food. You don't have to cook.
I mean, I make salsa. That's usually what I make. So, guys are making salsa.
I was just thinking, I haven't cooked at any of these meetups yet because I'm usually so busy setting grills up.
Yeah.
And then just, talking and whatnot. We'll have to see. Maybe I'll think this year.
Interstate and international travelers and guests get a pass. I mean, everybody gets a pass.
Oh yeah, no, there's no. Oh, you must do this. No,
although all the St. Louis guys seem to cook something. So.
Yes, they do. Yes,
I'm getting hungry just thinking about all of the food that was there. To be honest,
too.
So we're gonna have to end this so I can go find some food.
I hear that.
It's been amazing catching up with you guys, and I can't wait to talk to you guys again. Until next episode. Yes. Brian, Craig.
Thank you, Troy. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome.